You're listening to Dodge Movie Podcast. Your hosts are Christy and Mike Dodge, the founders of Dodge Media Productions. We produce films and podcasts, so this is a podcast about films. Join them as they share their passion for filmmaking.
The process of making a film can be difficult because when you're in the filmmaking process, you don't have a good idea of what it's like for the viewer. Part of the way that we in the filmmaking business solve this problem is by focus groups. We ask people to watch a film and then tell us what they think. That helps us understand how what we're doing comes across to the viewer. If you would like to participate in that process on one of our films in the future, please send an email to christy@dodgemediaproductions.com and let us know that you're willing to participate in a focus group. In fact, we may avail ourselves of your services in the very near future. Act now.
And you don't have to have any previous film knowledge because we actually want to know if the film is hitting the beats for the average audience. So no previous experience required.
Just passion. Hello everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Today we're going to talk about a movie called One Night Only. Joining me today is my special guest. Say hello, please. Hi, Mike. Hi, Mike. Good to have you back. Well, good that I'm here. I guess people didn't hate it so much the last time I was on the podcast. No, it was fairly well received from the one person that commented on it. Well, good to have a second set of input on this one. Well, I also saw this movie, Mike. In fact, I saw it in the same exact showing that you did. Well, I don't know if I saw you there. Well, you were probably looking at the screen. This film is salutary in a certain way because I found the trailer to be so confusing and annoying at a certain point. It was obvious that there was some trick involved in the name and the premise, but I wasn't sure what it was. So I almost didn't see the film because I had no idea what was going on. I find that interesting. I'll give full credit to the marketing department. Whoever makes these trailers, it's probably hard to make a trailer that tells you what's happening in the film without spoiling it. And maybe they felt like the premise would somehow spoil it and they couldn't put it in the trailer. The downside is the film was confusing to me in that sense. Going into it, I was pretty sure we were going to find some romance. Didn't know if it was a classic rom-com, but I had no idea what the pressure was that was putting these two characters together. Now, it makes tons of sense once you see it that there is an outside force that says you might only have casual sex on one night of the year. I don't consider this a spoiler. Sorry, I didn't say spoiler warning. This is just a premise, and it works just fine for a premise. I don't think I've heard of that before. Someone I know referred to this as the sex purge. So we saw in The Purge a premise of there's one night a year where the rules are off. In this case, I think the screenwriter or the director was taking a little bit of a swipe at a more conservative government. And I think this is fine for that purpose, for saying that obviously it would be difficult to enforce. There is some talk in the movie about how that could possibly be enforced, but I think this ultimately comes down to the mantra that we say, buy the premise, buy the bit. Now, I read that this screenplay was originally written by one Travis Braun, but then when Will Gluck, the director, took it over, he did a lot of rewrites. I don't know what the original script looked like. I don't know what Gluck did to it, one way or the other. Travis Braun still gets the written by credit all by his lonesome. We know Will Gluck from some good movies like Easy A and Anyone But You. I like his work in the rom-com field, so this makes sense that I like this film too, because I think he brings his typical sense of humor and good directing style to this. In fact, there were some cameos of a sort from people from his earlier films in this one, a great nod to his previous work. So the basics of this film is because there is one night a year where people can legally have casual hookups, it becomes a dating free-for-all. Now, one of the things that comes out of that is that there is this presumption that romance and sex go together. I don't know that you necessarily need to conflate romance and sexuality. Emotional and physical intimacy don't necessarily need to go together, do they, Mike? Well, Mike, I think you're right. I don't think that the two necessarily go together, although with human behavior, I think they often do. Maybe it's just the oxytocin. But I think in this case for the film, it was fine for that. Yeah, the one night only part was pushing the pressure on them. One of the things we talk about in screenwriting is giving some time pressure to the characters to force them into activity. Yeah, you're right, Mike. I think if they didn't have that time pressure, the plot wouldn't work out as well as it did, but it works out pretty nice. Do you find it believable, the misadventures they got into on that night? Well, Mike, yeah, I do actually. I think if people are hormonally charged and under pressure, they might make a lot of crazy decisions and run around. Yeah, I think it was believable too, as far as these things go. Now, what are the basic rules of rom-com characters, Mike? Do you recall? Well, Mike, the male lead cannot be in it just for the sex, and the female lead cannot be in it just for the money. You're right, Billy Murnett would be proud of you, you'd get a merit badge. And in this film, it's interesting to bring that up because there is this implication that this one night is very sex-fueled, and yet romantic comedy leads can't be in it just for the sex. So that was an interesting portion, and it was addressed in the film. Yeah, I thought that was pretty believable, Mike. I thought they were going to go one direction with it, but then they went in the other direction. Yep, that's a good job, Mr. Gluck. So we've got these two characters. The main character of the male is played by Callum Turner. If I remember correctly, he's with Dua Lipa, but I know him from Masters of the Air. Oh yeah, I really liked that, Mike. Wasn't that the one about the B-17 bombers in World War II that Tom Hanks did? You're right, they filmed it in the volume in a replica B-17. That must have been cool for Callum. Yeah, did you know he's actually from England? No, you wouldn't get it at all in his accent. Good job, Mr. Turner. You looked American and sounded American. The other lead is played by Monica Barbaro, and I actually didn't recognize her name. I don't know much of her work. Wasn't she in the latest Top Gun? Right again, Mike. Wow, you're on top of things today. Yes, she did play a character in that movie, Top Gun Maverick, although it was not a huge part. I think she's very photogenic, so people probably remember her, but I don't remember the rest of her work. I thought she did a good job in this one, and I could see casting her in a romantic comedy again. Yeah, I agree. I think she's got a nice smile and the camera loves her. Always helpful in the lead for romantic comedies. So the basic premise of this is one night, and of course, as you know from my films, I like the idea of collapsing things in time, having a snapshot, and putting them under that pressure of there's a ticking clock, literally, for when they can get together. Now, what's fascinating about this, I think, is that this is a ticking clock for physical intimacy, but the romantic comedy is about more. And this was an interesting twist on the trope because technically they could still fall in love the next day. But we had that clock counting down and it was driving the actions of the characters. And I remember hearing one time that Hitchcock said suspense is when the audience knows something that the characters don't. In this case, the characters were unaware that they had more than one day to get to know each other because they were focused on that night, that one night only. Did you see anything fun in there in the art department, Mike? Well, yes, now that you mention it, I loved all of the signage. Credit goes to the entire art department, which I think would be under production designer Scott Cusio, where there were tons of signs in the background of things. Back on the police station, even on lamp posts, where it would have been like the no parking or you could only park a certain time of day. They had signs there talking about no sex during the rest of the year. I thought it was super well done, very subtle. You know, another thing I liked, Mike, was making fun of the drug commercials. You're totally right, Mike. Good eye again. Yeah, they have a couple of swipes at these commercials that I think everyone has now seen, where there's some drug with a made-up name and a cheesy song and the weird video. It's pretty well done. I have to say, I thought that was funny. Did you see any product placement, Mike? Well, not from the drug companies. I guess they wouldn't like it that you made fun of their commercials, but there were some product placements in there. I noticed Dunkin' Donuts was prominently featured, as well as I think it was Durex was the condom company. Yeah, that brings up an interesting point. In there, they make it seem like this is the one night a year when condoms would be used. We had a discussion after the film, and we thought, well, people still might want to use that for birth control or safety from diseases and such. So probably wouldn't be the only night a year that they ever had them. And I would think from modern American businesses, the companies would stockpile for that night. This wasn't the first time it ever happened, so they would be aware that it was coming. And I think you'd be awash in that. Well, you know, Mike, this would also be a good opportunity for Planned Parenthood to get involved. They used to hand them out for free at the clinics all the time. Good point, Mike. Yes, so we have these characters. They're put into this crucible. We have the very classic romantic comedy meet cute. At first, they're not too keen on each other. Very standard kind of setup. I like that. Now, maybe some people don't. They don't like it because it's somewhat too formulaic, but I think Gluck did a fantastic job of balancing between the structure of a romantic comedy that we know works and that we expect with some nice twists and things that we didn't see coming. So again, credit to Gluck. He did a really good job with this one. I think in his previous outing, Anyone But You, we saw that he had a bit of a sense of humor. And I thought Easy A had humor in it too, but Anyone But You had a slightly different, I would say almost lighter, a little more slapstick feel to it. I think this film is maybe right in between the two of those. So did you like anything in particular about the casting, Mike? Well, you know, there was this one fellow, I don't really know what his character, Simon did, I don't remember it, but his name is Thomas Dodge Wheatley, and I just want to clarify for the listening audience, no relation. Good point, Mike. We got to make sure that we're not engaging in nepotism, but he did a good job too. But I particularly have to say, I felt like the two leads landed this in a way that was appropriate. I think that's very much true, Mike, but it's a good vehicle for them as well. Did you notice that LeVar Burton was in it? Well, you're right. Thanks for reminding me of that, Mike. LeVar Burton, whom some of us know from Star Trek The Next Generation, actually has a substantial part in this. And boy, wasn't that fun to see him doing something different than Geordie LaForge or Reading Rainbow. Good work. And also, you'll notice Molly Ringwald, famous from the 80s John Hughes films. Good to see her back acting in my kind of films again. Haven't seen her in a while. Were there any funny cameos though? Yeah, actually, I did notice, don't want to spoil it because I think it's funny, there were a couple of fun cameos in there talking about people and what they do during this night. It was pretty well done. So, did you find the resolution of the plot obvious, Mike? No, I actually didn't. I'm going to be honest. I figured they'd get together because that often happens in rom-coms, but I thought it was going to happen in a different way. In retrospect, it was set up very well, but I didn't see it coming. Wow, that's actually a good point. So again, I don't know whether to credit Braun or Gluck for that one, but it was good to see that they did something a little bit different. Really well done. What did you think on whether you would recommend this or not to someone else, Mike? I definitely would recommend this to people who like romantic comedies. Looking at its IMDb score, I think it's getting ripped off. I think it's a better film than some of the scores that they're listing. You know, I have to say, I think you're right too, Mike. I think this is a good romantic comedy, a fun watch, especially at this time of year when there seems to be nothing but horror films. This is a nice, fun, romantic comedy, a little bit of smoochy action, but it was just right down the road. What a fun ride. Credits to all involved. Do you have any final thoughts on this one, Mike? No, Mike, other than just to say thanks for having me back. It's always fun to chat with you about films. Well, it's always good to have you here, Mike. And remember, Dodges never stop, and neither do the movies. Some of our longtime listeners may have already gotten a sticker or two from our podcast, but if you would like the complete sticker pack so you can compare with your friends or maybe make your neighbors jealous, please send an email to Christy@DodgeMediaProductions.com requesting a sticker pack. Geography does not matter. We will ship internationally.
Yes, and we understand that we have some fans in Korea. Thank you. In Germany, thank you. Australia, we have a couple fans. So we would love to know where you're listening from. We have a new sticker that we are very excited about, designed by our very own Michael W. Dodge, and we would love to send it out to you. So just shoot me an email with your address. And this is not for email collection, although if you would like to be on our newsletter, state that, and I can get you on our newsletter list. But we are not mining for emails. We simply want to show our appreciation for your listenership and happy to send you out a sticker pack. Just ask.
Bonus points for people who post photos on social media of them rocking their DMP stickers.
Yes, that would be amazing.
Thanks for listening to Dodge Movie Podcast with Christy and Mike Dodge of Dodge Media Productions. To find out more about this podcast and what we do, go to DodgeMediaProductions.com. Subscribe, share, leave a comment, and tell us what we should watch next. Dodges never stop, and neither do the movies.